the CMO at Ebster. Thank you very much for joining us today. So Nicholas is going to be joining us today, and we're going to kick off this webinar right now. So we're going to be speaking about Salesforce automation. Salesforce as a system, as a CRM, you can create builds and you can create custom objects, and you can do lots of things to make it suit your business. But when it comes to updating it and running processes and really driving your users through certain journeys, we need to start then looking at automation. And Salesforce offers a range of automation tools, and the three main ones really are Process Builder, Workflows, and Visual Flow. And Nicholas is going to take us through those examples today and really go into a deep dive in what those can be used to do. The Empower guys, I've already said this, they're a fantastic company. If you've got any Salesforce issues, or you're getting up and running, or you've got any sort of bandwidth to have a consulting partner come on board, you should really be speaking to these guys. They've been around for a few years, but really the best person to be speaking about this with you is probably Nicholas.
Yes, hi guys. Briefly, my name is Nicholas. I'm very, very happy to be here today. Power is actually the only Salesforce for startup partner in Europe. We have offices in Berlin as our HQ, and in Barcelona, Madrid, and probably most interesting for the participants in this call, so London for the UK. Yeah, about myself, I've been working with Salesforce now for a little bit over 2 years. And I'm just fascinated by what Salesforce can actually do to companies regarding the automations it gives to administrators and the tools it offers, and really help those companies to scale. And this is also what this call today is going to be about. So we're going to talk about the automations that Salesforce offers, or the automation tools rather, that Salesforce offers to administrators. The focus of today is we're going to talk about the differences between the Process Builder and Salesforce workflows. Then we're going to give you guys a little bit of an intro of how to build a process and a Salesforce workflow. And then in the end, we're going to talk about the difference to a visual flow, complexity of a visual flow. We're only going to show you how one looks like and how it can be used, but we won't actually build one together. So let's have a look at the tools in detail that Salesforce offers to administrators to automate processes. So four they are, and one is of course the Process Builder, which we're going to have a look at in a moment. Then in the end of today's presentation, we're going to talk about visual flows. Then we're also going to build one workflow together, and one automation that we're going to leave out for today is approval processes, but this is something you guys should definitely check out because it can save you a lot of time. So this is something typically used, for example, the approval of an offer. All right, let's jump into Salesforce workflows. So workflows allow you to automate standard internal procedures and processes. So basically you can look at a workflow as an if-then statement. So each workflow has a criteria, the if part, and then action, which is the then part of the if-then statement. So a very easy example could be if it's raining, bring an umbrella. If it's raining, so the criteria, bring an umbrella. So that would be the action. Workflows are quite easy to use and to handle. And one if statement can be followed by multiple then statements, and the then statements can also be reused. So once the then statement is created, it can be used by multiple if statements. So for example, we can also say if it's very sunny, we can also bring an umbrella, and you wouldn't have to write that then statement again. Actions that can be triggered by a workflow rule are tasks, so you can create tasks for users. This is one of the most handy automations you can make. You can send email alerts and you can create them within the interface. You can trigger field updates, and you can trigger outbound messages. This is one feature that the Salesforce Workflows offers, but the Process Builder doesn't. So maybe to just summarize it again, when it comes to complexity, you can have one if statement followed by multiple then statements. It lets you create records, but only tasks, which is already quite a huge time saver, as we're going to explore in just a minute. It allows you to update records, but only the record that the process started on, or the parent record. It allows you to create and send email alerts within a workflow, and it supports time-based actions. So this is something that's also quite handy, so you can have a trigger, like a criteria causing an action, and that action can be executed later in time. One quick hint on this side, if you implement time-based actions on leads, it can cause the lead not to be able to convert. So here you have to be a little bit careful, but I mean, just try it out in your sandbox before you deploy, as always. An instance for like an example for the update of a record is for the parent-child relationship. If you update something on an opportunity that triggers a workflow, it could update the above account. Okay, so now let's have an overview of the process builder and how that works. In theory, the process builder can do anything the workflow can do as well. It offers you a couple more actions, also always consisting of if and then statements. So what you can do with the process builder though is you can combine if-then statements. So you can have multiple if statements followed by multiple then statements. An example could be, if it's raining, then bring an umbrella, and then you check, and if it's muddy, have to wear boots. So you have two if statements and two then statements followed by it. The actions that you can trigger by the process builder flow are the creation of records. So not only tasks, you can also create other records. You can update any related records, meaning you can update, for example, from an opportunity to an account, but also from an account to an opportunity if the flow starts on the opportunity. It just has to be related through lookup or a master detail, of course. You can launch a flow. You can send email alerts. So you can reference them within the process builder, but you can't actually create them within the interface of a process builder. So you would have to create the email alert first and then reference it within the flow. You can do chatter posts, and you can actually start the approval process through the process builder. So if we sum that up again, so you can have multiple if-then statements within the process builder. You can create records through that flow. You can update any related records. You can reference email alerts and send them out. And you can also have multiple time-based actions per node. One huge advantage that the process builder also offers you is the visual interface. So it allows you to actually see the process you're building and come up with a bit of a flow chart of what's happening. Enough of the theory now. Let's do some practical work and look at a scenario, and then we'll start a workflow together. So
we've got one very quick question. Are these features, these tools available to any edition, or are they limited to certain editions?
Unfortunately, they're only available from the Enterprise Edition up.
Thank you.
No worries. So scenario number one. Company approaches us and asks for help, and we want to we get a lot of incoming calls from potential customers, and we would like to schedule reminders for our sales team to call the lead back within the first week. How can we automate that? We can use Salesforce workflows. So let us build these together. So here we're within our org. Let's have a look at that process manually first. So basically a new lead calls, then we create a new record, we fill in some data. The lead source is of course an inbound call. So the record is created. There you go. The record is created. And then we schedule a new activity. So we have to call back. There you go. We want this to happen in 1 week's time, so on the 17th. Save it, and now we can get back to that later. So as you can see, this is quite a lot of steps. So last one we can definitely automate. How to do that is we build a workflow together. So first we go on setups, then in the search bar on the top left we type in workflows. There. And then we create a new workflow rule. So first, we have to choose the object the workflow rule should start on. So in this case, we're looking at leads. So we select lead and then go to the next step. Here, we now get to name the rule. So here, one important thing is, since if statements can trigger multiple then statements, and then statements can be reused, you want to name the rule according to the rule, and not to the actions that follow by it, because, again, they can be reused. So here, just as an example, incoming lead. If you have multiple workflows, it's always good to add a description so you know where you're at. Next thing is the evaluation criteria. So you look at when the rule should be evaluated. So here you have three options. First is when the object is created, so the record is created. when it's created and every time it is edited, or when it's created and every time it's edited to subsequently meet the criteria. You have to be a little bit careful here, because when you choose create and every time it's edited, it will not allow you to do time-dependent workflow actions. In this case, we say every time that the lead is created, we want to trigger that the task is automatically created. So we choose the created option, and then we can set the criteria. So this is the if statement. So lead is created is number 1, and then we set secondly that the lead source equals, and then you have the magnifying glass here. Since this is a pick list field, you have the magnifying glass here to choose from the pick list values. In this case, we choose the inbound call. So this is already our complete if statement. So we save that and go next. And then here we have the opportunity now to add workflow actions. So we can create new workflow actions, or we can choose from existing actions. In this case, we want to create a new task. So the object task. Here, first we choose who it should be assigned to. And this is something important here. Those are the options that Salesforce gives you using workflow rules. You can either choose specific users, you can assign it to roles, or to the owner of the object. In this case, we want to assign to the owner of the object. Then the subject would be callback lead. Then you have a due date, so when the action should be actually due. You have multiple different options here, always relating to time fields within a related object. So in this case, we want to actually have the due date set to rule trigger date plus 7 days, since we want to call them back within a week. Status and priority are okay the way they are, so we save them. So we click on done. Last important thing is we have to activate the rule. Okay, so let's see how this looks like now. So a call is coming in. We capture the data, create the record. We say the lead source is an inbound call. We save the record, and you can see callback lead, the task is already created with the due date of 7 days from today, so the 17th, and it's assigned to the owner of the object. So this is how workflows can help you automate simple processes. So let's check out the next scenario. So now the company approaches us again and says, okay, well, we don't only get incoming calls from potential customers, we already also get calls from existing customers. In this case, it's a bit more tricky because we have to decide if either support or account management should call them back. How can we automate that? And in this case, we're going to look at it why, but in this case, we need to use a process builder. So why is if we check out the record and go through the process, the way we would do it is we look at an existing record, so an account is an existing customer. We see that there is a support user up here. So this is a custom field, and if you remember on the task assignment that we have in a workflow, we could not choose any custom fields. It was only roles, users, or the owner of the object. So if it comes to the support user, we can't assign him any tasks. So what we can do though is we can use the process builder to do that, because that actually supports that functionality. So the way the process currently works is I would just have to assign a task, look for the user and assign the task. So as you can see here, we already implemented a callback button. So this is a checkbox that needs to be ticked to start the process, but I'll explain to you guys in a minute why. Okay, how do we get to start a process flow? So again, we click on the setup, then on the search bar here, we type in process builder, pops up right here, and then we get to the process builder. So we create a new process, same here. And then enter a description, always helps, but I'll skip that step for now. And here we can create that process now. So in the beginning we have to choose an object which should start the process. So in our case, we want to start on accounts. And here you also get that criteria of when the process should be started. Only when a record is created or when a record is created or edited. In this case, created or edited because it's already an existing account. Never forget to save. And then we can add the first criteria. First criteria is, one thing I forgot actually, is the differentiation between when should the support staff or the account manager should call. And we differentiate here between upselling opportunities. So if we identify an upselling opportunity, account manager should call back. And if it's not, then the support user should call back. So here we say, for the first one, upselling yes as a name, and then here we can choose now the criteria and build that up. So first, we click on the fields, and now it gives you all the fields that we have on the start object. So we're going to look for the callback field, and as you can see, it's a checkbox, so it already gives us a true or false criteria. So here we can choose true, because every time we check that box we want the task to be created. And second is we differentiate the upselling opportunity, which is a pickless as you just seen. And here it gives us a pickless value, so if the upselling opportunity is yes, then we want this part to trigger. So we save that. And so this is our if statement now, the first one. And from there we want some actions to be triggered. So here it gives us the possibilities to select which action we want to trigger. In this case, we want to create a record, as we want to create a task. So call back sales agent. It's going to be the name, and the object that we want to create is going to be a task. Okay. So here, first one is assigned to ID. You can just enter ID of a fixed user, or you can reference a user, use a formula, or a global constant. In this case, we want to reference a user. So we go to the account, the object where we started the process, and then we can look for the owner, and we can just fill in the owner ID. Very important, if you have lookups, always fill in the ID field. Priority is going to be normal, status is going to be not started, and now we also need to relate that object to the account that it started on. So here, again, we don't type in a fixed ID, we're going to choose a reference, and we want actually the account ID. Account ID, and we choose that. Then we give this a subject. So here you define what fields should be filled with a new object. Subject is going to be callback sales agent, and the due date we're going to set to. Okay, here the options are that we can either define a fixed date, we can reference it to any other date on the object or on a related object. We can use a global constant, or we can use a formula. In this case, since it's 7 days from today, we want to use a formula. So we just click on here to start building the formula. And here we're going to be just very easy, type in today plus 7. So we use this formula, and there we go. One other thing is we want that checkbox to uncheck itself after it's been checked. So we can check it multiple times, and each time a task will be created. So we create a little bit of a loop with a manual in between. So what we want to do is we want to update the record as well. So here, uncheck callback. Then what kind of record? So we want to start on a record that started the process. So as we have it here, we want to start on the account. And then we look for the field. So here it's going to be callback, and we want to set it to false again. So this is our first if-then statement. Then we can add another statement. So if this if statement is not true, the flow is going to go to the next statement and check if this is true. So here we're going to be upselling no, and just fill that in again. So we say, okay, upselling opportunity has been put to no, and the callback has been checked. And then again, here's now our second if statement followed by another then statement. So here we want to again create a task, so we want to create a record, but we don't want to assign it to the account manager, we want to assign it to the support staff. So here we're going to create a task again and assign it to, and this is where the difference lies now. We're going to go reference, and as you can see here, I can reference to any ID on the object. Here I want to go to the support user. So now I went from the account to the support user object, which is a simple lookup, and I want to have the user's ID. Because it's a lookup, we need to have the IDs in there. Priority set to normal again, status not started yet. We again need to relate to the account ID. So it will be attached to the account, otherwise it'll just fly around. We have a subject equaling callback support, and the due date here, let's just put it again to today plus 1 day. So we want to come back within the 1 working day. So we save that because we want this to be a loop and work multiple times. We're gonna add the uncheck of the call checkbox. So here we're gonna update the record again. And this is actually something that I really like about the workflows that the process builder does not offer. It lets you reuse actions. So in this case, I could just reuse the action that I already created in the upselling yes then statement, so this one, but I can't, so I need to create it again. So in this case, I want to update the record of accounts again and basically do exactly the same steps as I've already done. So callback equals false. Save. So now let's test it. We activate the flow, go back to our account and say, okay, we want to call back and put this to no. We save it. Now the flow ran and we have callback support next day, and it's assigned to Charles Smith, who is our support user. So this one's, I think, one that's a dummy record, so sorry for that. So we're going to close it real quick, and then I'll show you here. As you can see, the callback checkbox has been unchecked as well. So we just do the same thing again, calls again, and we put it this time to yes to see what happens then. It's been unchecked again, and now we have a callback sales agent task assigned to the owner of the account with the due date of the 17th. So this is basically how you can use a flow to assign tasks to different users or custom fields. So now back to our company. So we've implemented both of those flows. They're super happy. It already saved them a lot of time. Now they want to ask if we can somehow make this whole thing a little easier, because there's a lot of point and click and going back and forwards and not easy to find accounts. And can we make this process a little bit easier? And of course we can. We can use a visual flow. So maybe let me introduce you a little bit to visual flows. A visual flow allows you to create an event which is usually triggered by a user, unlike workflows, for example. And unlike workflows, it executes actions in front of you. So it provides you with screens that you can point and click through, and through those screens put data in and update records, create records, and so on. And how this works is same scenarios. We have the incoming calls where we want to create leads and assign them tasks, or we want to call back existing customers and assign tasks to either account management or support staff. So how we do that is, since it's already been implemented, we have the incoming call button here. We just click on that. Then we come to the first screen where we have a little bit of welcoming message. So this could be like, welcome to Empower, very happy to help you. Can I have your account number, please? Then you can enter the account number here. So let's do the 1, 2, 3. Next, and now it looks for the records, and it found the Dixon Limited with the account number, and the address, and so on, and it asks for, okay, would you like to be called back? Yes. Is there an upselling opportunity? No, there isn't. We go next, jumping to the next. Thank you very much for your call. Get back to you soon. This happens, then we have the next incoming call. So this time we either don't enter an ID, or we enter an ID but can't find it. So here, no data found. Would we like to create a new customer? Yes, we would. Then we enter some customer data. So let's do that one here. Let's type that in. We create that. So let's see what happened in the background. So we check out the leads. And here we see Tobias Maxwell is the lead that we've just created. And if we go on that, we see that the task already has been assigned to call him back within 1 week to the lead owner. Okay, let's see what happened with the first call that came in the visual flow. Back to the Dixon Limited, and you can see we have created another callback for support, which was triggered through the visual flow. So this really helps us to automate processes, make them easier, and really use the power that Salesforce gives us when it comes to scaling your business. Then let's have a look at how that visual flow looks like from the other side. So here we go again on setup. We type in flow on the top. Check out the flow, and here's the flow that I've already created for you. So we open the flow, and here we get the overview now. Here we at the start screen with the message that we displayed. So here we could, for example, just change the message by double-clicking. We have that message here, and just fill in anything, highlight things. So very easy, point and click. Then here it asked us for the account number. So we enter the account number and then look in our database to see if we can find an account with an existing number. Then we come to a decision, so the account was found or wasn't found. If the account was found, it gives us the customer screen. So it shows us the information about the customer and asks us if we want to call back and about what matter. So if it is an upselling opportunity or not. If we enter that here, then it will update the record and bring us back to that screen where we say thank you for the call. Nevertheless, if we did not find the record, it will ask us if we would like to create a new record. So here we have a decision is if we click that button or not. And if we clicked it, then we will get to the new screen where we put in the lead information, and then it will use this information to create a lead and bring us to the thank you screen. If we choose that we don't want to create a new record, it'll just give us to the thank you screen, and that was it. So this is basically how flows work. And then of course they can become a lot more complex and a lot longer, and this is really something where you have to spend a little of time to understand how this works and how it's set up. But it's not magic. Anybody can learn it, and it can really do great service for your company, helping you automate processes. So much for that. I hope I've given you guys a bit of an overview of when to use what, and just a little bit of a taste of how this can help your company to scale and really utilize the power of Salesforce. And yeah, I'd be happy to answer a couple of questions now.
Hi Nick, we do have a few questions coming in, so we'll just kick off with the first question. Can you clarify when to use Visual Flow rather than a workflow or process builder? That's coming from Erin. I think
Yes,
it's really around user journeys, isn't it? But
very much so. Basically, Process Builder runs completely in the background, and the decisions are, like, once the process has been kicked off, you can't really do anything within the process. With the Visual Flow, it will let the user decide and not the data within the system. So basically, if you want to have conscious decisions made by the user, guiding them to different inputs and to different creation of records or tasks, then you should use a Visual Flow. If it's something that should run in the back, then use a Process Builder.
okay. Bailey has asked, can you show the details of one of the flow elements for the record lookup get account? Because he's wondering, or she's wondering, about how to set it up in the details. What does that look like?
Okay, no problem. We can just jump in here. So basically what we should do is we should look at the start screen. So what we do here is in the start screen we display the message and we give the input field account number. So this is something that we'll set as a variable now, saving for later. So whatever you put in here will be saved within the flow. Then what we do here is we reference to that account number field, this one here, and look that up. So we say, okay, the account number of the account that we're looking for should equal the variable that we just put in the screen before. So this is what you do here. As you can see, it's a bit more tricky, and therefore, yeah, this is something where you have to put a little bit more effort in there. Next thing we do is the account that we found with that number is we're now starting to pull data from it. So what is the data that we want from that reference object? We want to see the account number, the billing address, the billing street, account country, and the account name. And this is really what is shown then on, if we go back to that flow, so maybe to guide you guys through it, here we put in the account number, and then it gives us these fields that we want, and those are displayed on the third screen then. Here we request them and put them as variables, and then we're going to use that variables, if it's found, to display them on the next screen, where you can see here we have the different output fields that we've set before, requested from the object that we've called.
A good question here from Alicia. Is there any way you can actually go and get Visual Flow templates? Obviously it's quite difficult to start coding them from scratch on your own. Are you aware of any resources where you can download template flows?
To be honest, I am not sure if there's any templates that are already implemented, but it might seem a little bit tough now, but just put some time into it, and there's a couple of great tutorials on how to use visual flows, and I'm very sure that anybody can learn them.
Okay, we just had two people say, could you send us tutorial links? I will make sure that I talk to Nick after this call, and in the follow-up email where we send you the video, we will include the links to the tutorial. I think this is the last question. Lou is saying, I need to set up some round-robin style lead assignment rules for my sales team. Are workflow rules the best tool to use this, or should I be using queues?
I would definitely go through queues. It really depends on what you want. So if round robin, if you want to put in a factor where you assign them to users, workflows makes it tough because you would have to set up a user for every workflow for every user you wanted to assign to. So that will make it a bit harder. So there's a couple of solutions that you can use in the App Store. Some of them are for free, but this is an automation that would go through queues and then from there take them and assign them to the users. This is something that we've actually implemented for a couple of customers, but to have a really mature solution there, I would recommend using custom code.
Excellent. I think that brings us to the end. For now, I'd like to say goodbye. Thank you so much, Nicholas.
My pleasure, and thank you guys for listening in.
Perfect. Thank you. Take care, everyone. Goodbye.